Are you in the Michael Saylor camp that Bitcoin will most likely hit $1 million?
Yeah, so how I back this out is two different ways. One, I just look at the log chart of Bitcoin. That trend, you can extrapolate it, and somewhere around 2030, it'll be $1 million. That sounds as ridiculous today as it did when I first bought it at $200 and I put a price projection of $100,000. I said it's actually going to a million, but I'm going to discount myself for being an idiot by 90%. So it cost $200. It could go to zero at that time, certainly, because that was 2013. But my price projection's 100,000, and people said this is ridiculous. I said it's the best macro trade of all time. So the $1 million doesn't seem that preposterous. The other way I back it out is when I look at the adoption of cryptocurrency. So you use as a proxy the number of active wallets. Now, we all know that's not a perfect proxy because people have multiple wallets. But you compare that to IP addresses for the internet, start them at both 5 million. Now, people have multiple IP addresses as well. So it's very similar. It's just directionally gives you an idea. Crypto is growing at twice the speed of the internet in terms of adoption. So it's the fastest adoption of any technology and any asset class the world has ever seen. So if we just assume that growth slows, as it did with the internet, because once you get bigger and bigger numbers, it's hard to grow at such a rate. So it goes from, let's say, 175% a year where it's been trending and goes to 43% a year, which is what the internet did from year 8 onwards. Well, crypto gets to 1 billion people by the end of next year. 1 billion active wallets, and it gets to 4 billion by 2030. Well, at 4 billion, the price will certainly be $1 million. So it kind of backs out from the adoption of the technology and of the log chart, because the log chart basically is the adoption of the technology. It's difficult to know what kind of cycle we're going to be dealing with. There's a school of thought that says it's a left translated cycle, which means it goes up fast early and then peaks early. Most would finish in 2025 in December. That's normally how these crypto cycles have finished. That third year would be a December, November kind of period. So could it come earlier and peter out this year? There's definitely a probability of that. What price would that be? I would say 200,000. Something like that. And that would be, okay, that's gone very far, very fast. The most likely outcome is a standard bull market. Now, the last one we had, 2020, 2021, was actually a stunted cycle because really the final leg never happened. We had a huge final leg in 2017 and an even more enormous one in 2013. But last time around, we didn't get one, which caught everybody off surprise, including myself. So somewhere that would be, Bitcoin gets to, let's say, 200 to 250,000, peaks somewhere between the summer and the end of the year. Okay, that seems pretty reasonable. The other probability is that we have a full bubble cycle because now there's more access to it by the ETFs. There's more acceptance. There's more regulatory acceptance. It captures more mind share. There's like 110 million Coinbase wallets and only about 10 million are active right now. So that number can go up dramatically. So we can see a huge participation and a final kind of belief that this is it. That could happen. And in which case, then you could see an extension to maybe 400,000 plus in this cycle. But I would give the short cycle and the bubble cycle roughly the same probabilities. I'm probably more erring towards the bubble cycle, but let's call them both 20% probability and 60% for something normal. There's a lovely transition that makes it easy for people to understand. It's like crypto is the best performing asset in the world for 3 years, and then it's the worst for 1 year. That first year is known as crypto spring. Sometimes it can be a bit choppy. It could be like spring. Some days it rains, some days it's sunny, but every day it gets a bit warmer. We had a pretty decent crypto spring. I mean, Bitcoin was up 150%. Then we started and we're in the process of transitioning to crypto summer. And crypto summer is when you start hitting all-time highs and things start going bananas. And we're very close to that now. We've got to the all-time high in Bitcoin, and we've been messing around. So whether by the time this video comes out or not, it's broken out, or it hasn't, we don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's pretty standard to have a chop around for a bit, and then fireworks happen. And really, the fireworks truly happen when altcoin season comes, and that comes in crypto summer, and we're starting to see the first signs of that. It's been meme coin season for a while now, and I think it'll drag the big memes like Doge up, and before you know it, even everybody, I find it amusing, everybody is writing off Ethereum right now, and exactly the same happened in 2020. In 2020, Ethereum was underperforming Bitcoin in spring, as it always does. Then it started basing, and then by the end of the year, it just never stopped outperforming. And I think we're in a similar kind of pattern, and that's typical of altcoin season. So if Bitcoin is the gateway drug, the RIAs, everybody else, you can kind of get your dad across the line with Bitcoin. And you can just use digital gold or store of value or something that's pretty straightforward. ETH really is the settlement layer for all of the layer 2s, but also I think a lot of the financial services industry will build on top of it, because it's deemed to be the safe bet. It's like using Salesforce for your CRM and other stuff. It's like using AWS, right? It's the thing you don't get fired for. Now, I think Solana will grab part of that market because of Firedancer, which is much faster. We can talk about that later. But generally speaking, ETH is the easy choice. It's like you work for a large corporation, they'll give you Microsoft Office. ETH is Microsoft Office.
Interesting. Okay, but you think ETH's the safer play, but Solana's like the easier play. So if you could, like Solana and ETH for this cycle, what are your thoughts?
Well, the proof is in the pudding. I'm 90% Solana. That's been my big bet for this cycle. So last cycle, my bet was switching Bitcoin into ETH a little bit later in the cycle, after the bottoming of that Bitcoin ETH cross, and that really paid off because it massively outperformed. And this cycle, I switched my ETH into Solana last year, about August, and that really, really paid off. And I think it continues. The biggest game in town, however, is what is the Solana of this cycle? If you remember, Solana last cycle was huge. So was Avalanche, so was Polygon. There was a few of them that really got the narrative, and it really, Solana won out that as the next big thing. The others are still fine. They've got activity and stuff going on, but not the scale of Solana. The question is what is that one of this cycle? Because you can make some real money in that bet. But this is where people start going too far out the risk curve. You really need to see what is getting some real adoption and a real narrative and real developers working around it and stuff like that. That remains to be seen, but that game is still to be played.
Thank you for joining us today on this insightful journey into the world of crypto and investing. If you found value in today's discussion and want to stay updated on future crypto news and market insights, don't forget to hit subscribe button below and click the notification bell. By subscribing, you'll be part of our growing community, gaining exclusive access to timely analyses and strategies. I look forward to having you with us in the next video.